Since that fight 6 months ago, things in my house have been tense. My mom and Mark are civil to me, but there's this underlying resentment in everything they do. Little comments, passive-aggressive digs, sighs when I enter the room. "Must be nice to only think about yourself," my mom said last week when I mentioned going to a friend's birthday party. "Some people know how to make sacrifices for the people they love," Mark added, not looking at me. "They're punishing me, not overtly, not in ways I could point to and say, this is abuse, but in small, constant ways that make it clear they're unhappy with me." Last month, my mom showed me a photo on her phone. One of her friends had just gotten married, and there was a picture from the ceremony. The friend, her new husband, and the husband's teenage son, all standing together, clearly having just done some kind of family unity ceremony. "Look how beautiful this is," my mom said, her voice wistful. "This could have been us years ago." "They're not us, Mom." "No, they're not, because that son actually cares about his mother's happiness." I've started spending more time at my friends' houses, anything to get away from the constant guilt trips and resentment. 2 weeks ago, I was at my best friend Jenna's house, and I finally told her everything, the whole 7-year saga. When I finished, she just stared at me. "Emma, that's insane. They're literally holding their wedding hostage and blaming you for it?" "Yeah, pretty much. But you've told them to just get married without the ceremony, right?" "So many times." "Then how is this your fault? They're the ones choosing not to get married." "I know, but they act like I'm this terrible daughter for not giving them what they want." Jenna's mom overheard us talking. She's a family therapist, which felt like fate. "Can I share something with you, Emma?" she asked, sitting down with us. "Sure." "What your mom and her fiancé are doing, making their adult decision contingent on your participation in something you're uncomfortable with, that's not okay. They're putting you in an impossible position where you're blamed for their choices. They say they're just waiting for me to be ready. But you've told them you won't be ready. You've been clear about your boundaries. At this point, they're not waiting for you. They're trying to manipulate you into compliance by making you feel guilty." Hearing an actual therapist, someone who wasn't Dr. Patricia, whose job was apparently to change my mind, validate my feelings was overwhelming. I started crying. I feel like I'm being a bad daughter, like I'm ruining my mom's life by not wanting what she wants. Jenna's mom's expression darkened. "That's emotional manipulation. Love doesn't mean abandoning your boundaries to make someone else comfortable. Healthy love respects boundaries." "What should I do?" "Keep being honest about your feelings. Don't let them guilt you into something you're not comfortable with. And understand that their unhappiness about this situation is not your responsibility to fix." That conversation changed something for me. I realized I'd been carrying guilt that wasn't mine to carry. When I got home that night, my mom was in the kitchen. Mark was there too, which felt ominous. "We need to talk," my mom said. Here we go again, I thought. "Mark and I have been thinking. We've been engaged for over 6 years now. That's longer than some marriages last. We're tired of waiting." For a moment, I felt hopeful. Maybe they'd finally accepted that they should just get married without the ceremony. "So we've made a decision," Mark continued. "We're giving you until your 18th birthday. 2 more years. If you're not ready to participate in the ceremony by then, we're going to have to make some hard choices about our future." "Hard choices? What does that mean?" My mom wouldn't meet my eyes. "It means we'll have to decide if we can continue living in a situation where our relationship can't progress because of your unwillingness to compromise." "Continue living in a situation? Mom, what are you saying?" "We're saying," Mark said carefully, "that if you can't get on board with our plans by the time you're 18, we might need to reconsider this relationship." You're breaking up with Mom because I won't do your ceremony? It's not just about the ceremony, Emma, my mom said, finally looking at me. It's about being part of a family. It's about commitment and compromise and putting the family's needs above your individual wants. The family's needs or your needs? They're the same thing, my mom snapped. No, they're not. You want me to do something I'm not comfortable with, and instead of accepting that, you're threatening to blow up our entire family. We're not blowing anything up, Mark said. We're just being honest that we can't stay in this limbo forever. Something has to change. Then get married without the ceremony. I've been saying this for years. And we've been telling you for years that's not what we want. Then break up. If the relationship isn't worth having without me calling you dad, then break up. But stop making this my fault. I ran to my room and slammed the door. I heard them talking in low voices, but I couldn't make out the words. Since that conversation, I've been in a constant state of anxiety. I have 2 years to either give in to their demands or my mom might choose Mark over me. Actually, let me rephrase that. My mom might choose her idealized version of our family, the one where I happily embrace Mark as my new dad, over reality, over me, as I actually am. Yesterday, my aunt called me, this same aunt who'd questioned me at Thanksgiving years ago. Emma, honey, I need to tell you something. Your mom called me yesterday crying. She's heartbroken over this wedding situation. I know she is. I feel terrible about it. Then why don't you just do the ceremony, Emma? It's 1 day, 1 ceremony, and it would make your mother so happy. Because it's not just 1 day, Aunt Lisa. It's me making vows to accept Mark as my father. That's not something I can just do and then forget about. But your mom says you won't even try. She says you're completely closed off to the idea. I've been in therapy for 3 years trying. My feelings didn't change. I don't want Mark to be my dad. Honey, your dad's been gone for a long time. Don't you think he'd want you to be open to a new father figure? Everyone keeps saying that, but no one actually knows what my dad would want. They're just using him to make me feel guilty. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm trying to help you see that sometimes we have to make sacrifices for the people we love. Why is it always me who has to sacrifice? Why can't Mom sacrifice her perfect wedding vision? Why can't Mark sacrifice his need to be called dad? Because you're the child, Emma. It's your job to be flexible, not theirs. I hung up on her. I'm so tired of being told that my boundaries don't matter because I'm young. This morning, I made a decision. I'm done carrying guilt that isn't mine. I sat my mom and Mark down, and I said what I should have said years ago, without apologizing or hedging or trying to soften it. I'm not going to do your ceremony. Not now, not in 2 years, not ever. I don't want Mark to be my dad. That's not a reflection on Mark as a person. It's just my truth. My dad died when I was 4, and I don't want or need a replacement. My mom's face crumpled. Emma, I'm not finished. You can be angry at me for not wanting what you want. You can be disappointed that I won't give you your perfect family moment. But you need to stop blaming me for your decision not to get married. We're not blaming you. Yes, you are. You've been blaming me for 6 years. But the truth is, you're the ones choosing not to get married. You're the ones who decided this ceremony is more important than actually getting married. That's your choice, not mine. Mark stood up. Emma, you need to understand that this ceremony is important to us because I don't care why it's important to you. I've listened to your reasons for 6 years. I've gone to therapy. I've watched your videos. I've heard all your arguments. And my answer is still no. So you need to decide, are you going to get married without it? Or are you going to stay engaged forever? But you need to stop making that decision my responsibility. If you cared about your mother,
Mark started. Don't finish that sentence. I love my mom. But love doesn't mean I have to erase my boundaries to make her fantasy come true. You want me to stand in front of everyone and vow to accept you as my father? I can't do that honestly. So you're asking me to lie, to perform a ceremony I don't believe in, making promises I don't want to keep just to make you happy. It wouldn't be lying. Yes, it would. Because I don't want you as my dad. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but it's the truth. And you trying to force it for 6 years hasn't changed that. My mom was crying now. So that's it? You're just going to ruin our wedding? I'm not ruining anything, Mom. You can have a wedding tomorrow if you want. I'll be there. I'll wear whatever dress you want me to wear. I'll smile in all the photos. I'll even give a toast about how happy I am that you found someone who makes you happy. But I won't pretend to be something I'm not. You're being so selfish, she sobbed. Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm just being honest. Either way, this is my final answer. You need to accept it and move forward with your life. I left them sitting there and went to my room. I half expected them to come after me to continue the argument, but they didn't. An hour later, I heard Mark leave. Through my door, I heard my mom crying. And I felt terrible. I still do. But I also feel free. For 6 years, I've been carrying the weight of their unhappiness, feeling guilty every time someone asked about the wedding, wondering if I should just give in and do the ceremony to make everyone happy. But Jenna's mom was right. Their unhappiness isn't my responsibility to fix. This afternoon, my mom knocked on my door. Can I come in? Yeah. She sat on my bed, tissues in hand, eyes red from crying. Mark and I talked. We're going to set a wedding date. I felt a wave of relief. Really? Yes. We're right that we've been letting this situation control our lives. We're getting married in 6 months, and we're not going to include the ceremony you're uncomfortable with. I should have been happy. This is what I'd wanted for years. But something in her tone made me hesitate. Mom, that's great, but I need you to know how much this hurts me. How disappointed I am that we won't have the wedding I've dreamed about, that our family won't be complete in the way I want it. Mom, I understand it's your decision, but I also need you to understand the cost of that decision. Mark is heartbroken that you don't want him as your father. I'm heartbroken that we can't have the family unity I've envisioned. Those feelings are real, Emma. And you're responsible for them. No, I'm not. I'm responsible for my own boundaries. You're responsible for your expectations. That's a very cold way to look at it. Maybe, but it's the truth. She stood up. Fine. We'll get married without the ceremony, but don't expect me to pretend that this isn't a huge loss for me.
After she left, I sat there processing. They're finally getting married. That should feel like a victory. But it doesn't, because my mom is making sure I know that I've ruined it for her. This is what emotional manipulation looks like, I realize. She's giving me what I asked for, a wedding without the ceremony, but making sure I pay for it in guilt and disappointment. I called Jenna's mom and told her what happened. Emma, listen to me carefully. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. You set a boundary and stuck to it. The fact that your mom is trying to make you feel guilty for that boundary is her problem, not yours. But she's so unhappy. Her happiness isn't your responsibility. She chose to tie her happiness to something you weren't comfortable with. That was her choice. She said I'm responsible for how hurt she and Mark feel. You're not. They're responsible for their own emotions. You can't control how they feel. And you shouldn't have to contort yourself to manage their feelings for them. It just feels like I've ruined everything. You haven't ruined anything. You've been a teenager with healthy boundaries in a situation where adults were trying to manipulate you into abandoning those boundaries. That's not on you. After we hung up, I did something I hadn't done in years. I looked at old photos of my dad. There he was, holding me as a baby, pushing me on a swing, reading me a bedtime story. And I realized something. My mom telling me that my dad would want me to accept Mark as my new father, that was never about my dad. That was about her trying to rewrite history to justify what she wanted. My dad loved me, and maybe he would have wanted me to have a father figure after he died, or maybe he'd understand that some relationships can't be forced, and that it's okay to honor his memory by not trying to replace him. I'll never know what my dad would have wanted because he died when I was 4, but I know what I want, and that has to be enough. Tonight at dinner, we sat together, me, my mom, and Mark, and it was awkward, but my mom did something I wasn't expecting. Emma, I want to apologize for how we've handled this. We should have accepted your feelings years ago instead of trying to change them. I nearly dropped my fork. Really? Yes, you were right. We made our decision not to get married and we blamed you for it. That wasn't fair. Mark nodded. I still wish things were different. I still wish you wanted me to be your dad. But I understand that's not how you feel, and I need to respect that. Thank you, I said, surprised by how much those words meant. The wedding is in 6 months. We'd still like you to be involved, maybe as a bridesmaid if you want. I'd like that. She smiled, and for the first time in 6 years, it felt genuine. I don't know if this is really the end of it. I don't know if the resentment will come back or if they'll start pressuring me again as the wedding gets closer. But for now, it feels like maybe, finally, they're accepting reality instead of trying to force their fantasy. To anyone reading this who's dealing with family members trying to force a relationship you don't want, whether it's accepting a step-parent, forgiving someone who hurt you, or maintaining contact with toxic relatives, please hear this. You are not responsible for other people's expectations. You are not obligated to abandon your boundaries to make someone else comfortable. People will tell you that family means sacrifice, that love means compromise. And sometimes that's true, but not when the compromise is your entire sense of self, not when the sacrifice is your emotional well-being. I'm 16 years old, and I've spent the last 7 years being blamed for my mom's decision not to get married. I've been told I'm selfish, stubborn, and wrong for not wanting something I never asked for. But I'm done apologizing for having boundaries. My mom and Mark are getting married in 6 months, and I'll be there, as a bridesmaid, celebrating their love. But I won't be performing in their ceremony where I call him Dad, because that's not who he is to me, and that's okay.